So practice it on yourself first. Learn to be gentle with yourself first. Learn to be the bud before you can grow into the flower.
Hello and welcome to the 2D podcast. I am your host, Adonis Barrera, and I am joined by the sensational Iana Giselle. How you doing, Iana?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Glad to have you back on the podcast.
Glad to be back. Sorry for my absence, guys.
And you weren't even gone. It was just like I said in the last one, some technical issues.
Right.
But we sorted those out and we took the time to adjust and pivot.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for sticking by us through our technical difficulties. And I'm really glad that Adonis was able to still create something for you guys and put it out, even without me. So we didn't have to leave you guys hanging without an explanation. But if you're listening to this one, that means that you still came back, and we genuinely appreciate your loyalty with us and just your support with keeping up with our podcast.
Yeah,
So
and
thank you guys.
exactly. And just looking to further yourselves,
Mhm.
and we thank you that you choose to do it here with us.
Yes.
And I'm sure you have, a bunch of more resources that you're dipping your toes into, but
Right.
we are grateful that you are making us part of your process too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, Iana, how's your weekend? What are your plans? What's going on in the world of Iana?
My weekend and my week has been going well. I wrapped up my 5th week of camp out of 7, so it's kind
Nice.
of bittersweet. This year around, I'm sad that there's only 2 more weeks left of camp, but I'm also like, that was well worth it, and it feels rewarding, especially knowing how much even the parents are seeing a difference in their kids when they come home. And like, this past week was long for my staff and I, but at the same time, like, you can tell the week was super successful because of all the kids knocking out right after the excursions on the way back to the center.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny, like, seeing like, okay, we definitely had a successful day of getting all the energy out and just making memories with the kids and everything and the staff. So I'm really proud of them.
Nice.
And then to top it off, we had a phenomenal day out. Adonis and I went, started at a farmer's market, got some really good coffee.
Oh, so good.
And breakfast sandwiches. We went shopping, and then we looked at some more podcast equipment, and then we went to Old Town Alexandria and had really good dinner out there. And it was just like an overall, and then we ended up going to a thrift store. Like, there was just so many components of yesterday that, like, I wouldn't change any of it for like the world. Like, it felt like we jam-packed everything that we wanted to do for the summer in one day, but with like no stress. Like,
no
I even got
stress.
an oil change in the middle of all of it, and I was
That's
like,
so
this is
true.
dope. Like, we just flowed really well together.
Yeah, that's
so.
how you know we were busy, because I completely forgot we even got an oil change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. What would you rate? Oh, go ahead.
And no, yeah. And then the thrift store, man, we got some great books at a great price. And I got this sweet briefcase.
Yes.
This black leather briefcase. And it just looks luxury. It looks money. I don't know. Sometimes I really don't know how people decide to just put those things in there, like to donate.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's quality. The person that put that in there could have sold it, because I was looking at it. Could have sold for easily $130.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm like.
And it was at a thrift store. Like, you don't get money for that.
You know
like,
what I mean?
Yeah. You just donate.
And it's nice. Oh, my. Well, thank you. Because of what happened last week, we decided to go ahead and invest in this new piece of equipment. For those of you that know a little bit about audio equipment, it's the Rodecaster Pro 2. Right now we're recording on a Zoom H4n Pro. It's a handheld recorder that you can pretty much take anywhere.
Yeah.
and it's nice and compact, and it makes it easy to carry and take with you, you know, but it does have some limitations. For example, what happened last week. If you're not paying finite attention to the settings, it looks like everything is in order.
Right.
Because there's really hardly any indication of what the setting is actually.
Yeah.
But with that Roadcaster, it's huge. You can't miss any detail.
Yeah.
And it just has so many more features and all that stuff. And hopefully it'll get us sounding a little bit better too.
Yeah.
And it'll make, what I'm excited about is how easy it's going to make everything in terms of editing and all that. But what I'm saying is, we saw the mistake that we made.
Right.
We adjusted. We pivoted, and we're moving forward.
Right.
We're not going to dwell on the past. We have to move forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were you going to ask me? You were going to ask me to rate.
Oh, rate our date. So we went into the segment of rate the date. So
nice.
What would you? I don't even know. Do you want to rate like the whole day, or do you want to talk about your side of the day, or your perspective of the day? I mean, and then we can rate the whole day, or
yeah. Okay. So first of all, my perspective of the day was that it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not used to being out like that.
Yes.
Normally, I'm accustomed to, you know, we have plans to go here. We might chill a little after in the area, and then we'll come back, you know, or
like one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Head back.
And if we do have multiple things, well, then we'll come back, you know, charge up, and then go out. We did not come home. As soon as we left, we were gone the whole day. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way, where you go out and then you don't come back until, you know, you're done hanging out or whatever. But with me, because I'm such an introvert, it's like, even after the farmer's market, I would have been so down to come home.
For the rest of the day.
Yeah, and not even the rest of the day, but at least for majority of the day.
Yeah.
Until, you know, we wanted to go out again. Because in the midst of all those people, I don't know what it is. I just feel the energy draining out of me in a fun way still, right? But still, you know, just because just because I love playing soccer doesn't mean I don't get drained. Like, I still get tired, right?
Right.
And I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, and I know this isn't part of the question, but I feel like I'm almost having to keep up a persona when I'm with all those people. We can go into that in another podcast.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
But I think as an introvert, you know, an extrovert is just like already wanting to make people happy, you know, getting to know everyone, you know, all that stuff. So they're really not even thinking about themselves. Introverts always thinking about themselves. So I'm always thinking about, oh, okay, I don't want to be mean mugging. So let me make sure I'm not smiling to look like I'm crazy, but
have like a friendly face.
A friendly face. And that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Especially if you're conscious of it. You know,
Yes.
I'm sure I don't have that type of face, but because I'm conscious of it, now I'm like raising my eyebrows. You know what I mean? You know?
Let me get into it.
Yeah. But I mean, anyways, like I said, we'll put that on another podcast because that is interesting to talk about. But the farmer's market was great. Man, that coffee, salted caramel iced coffee. That's what I got.
Oh my gosh.
It was phenomenal. And Iana got this cup of coffee flavored latte that I've never heard about.
It's if you guys are familiar with the chocolate Ferrero Rocher, they actually had the syrup flavor of that, which is basically like chocolate mixed with like hazelnut. And it's not too sweet. Like, it was just delicious. And the coffee, we both got iced lattes with those respective flavors, and it was so smooth.
Oh, the quality.
Yes, the quality of the coffee. Not even just like the milk balancing it out. Like, I got oat milk in mine too.
Yeah.
And like, it didn't just, you could tell it wasn't just the milk that made it smooth.
No.
It was the actual quality of the coffee. I think that food truck's name was SR Coffee.
Nice. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And we went to the farmer's market down at One Loudon in Ashburn, Virginia. Oh my gosh. That farmer's market was massive.
Yeah.
It was literally one long strip, but like all different kinds of food, different kinds of vendors. Like it's definitely one to like experience for
Yeah,
sure.
it's so nice.
Yeah.
And then we even got breakfast sandwiches there. Not at that same tent, but
Yeah.
at a different one.
A different
Oh my
vendor.
gosh.
I think that one was like good as deli.
It was
And
so good.
I think I want to say they're based out in Centerville or something like that.
Yeah, I think you said that.
But
Yeah.
he said it's like right across from Cheesecake. Like the owner was there and he took the orders and he was very enthusiastic about like just trying to get people over, which he
Yeah.
was doing a great job because he kept having a line over there.
Exactly.
And they were able to keep up with the demand and everything. But I was just like, this is so funny. Like, what's it called? He just kept saying like right across the street from the Cheesecake Factory. Like,
Oh, I didn't even notice that he said that.
yeah, he said that.
I was so accustomed to him always spitting out stuff. It just sounded like background noise to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those sandwiches, the coffee is freaking phenomenal. We definitely have to do that at least once every other, but
Yeah.
hopefully every, because then we even had a little podcast meeting right after the farmer's market where we set up a little blanket away from everyone and then just chilled out, listened to some lo-fi music.
Oh, and the weather was phenomenal. It
Beautiful.
was literally like mid to high 70s up until like 12 p.m., 1 p.m.
Yeah.
So it was like the perfect, and then there was a little breeze, there was a little cloud. Like it was so nice and
So nice.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely would want to do that again.
Yeah. But I'm going to just rate the farmer's market for now.
Okay.
Because if we talk about the whole day.
Oh, well, it'll take up the whole podcast.
It'll take up the whole podcast. Exactly. So for rate the date, we're going to rate that. Man, I'd have to give that whole experience. Man, a 9.5 out of 10.
9.5 out of 10. Same.
I mean, the weather was beautiful. There was parts where it was a little hotter, but then the clouds came back in. Man, the food was phenomenal. The weather was beautiful. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. There wasn't any crazy parking situation.
Right.
Man, it was top notch.
I think the part that like took that half point away for me would have been there was not enough seating around.
There's no seating.
Yeah, there was no seating around unless like that vendors actually brought it themselves.
Yeah.
And then so we ended up sitting like on the curb of a street, which is fine.
Yeah.
It was still clean and everything like that. So I was like, oh, well, we're fine here.
Exactly.
But other than that, like if that's the only thing you have to worry about, then like shoot, I'll take it, you know?
Where's this farmer's market at?
One Loudon in Ashburn.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But getting into the podcast now, I definitely want to talk about what happened last week. Not in terms of that specific moment, but how a lot of us have those moments where we feel like, man, I failed at this again, or man, I can't get it. Man, something messed up. I knew something would mess up. I knew something wasn't going to turn out the way I wanted it to turn out.
Right.
And, things happen like that all the time.
Yeah.
But it's the way that we respond to those situations.
Yes.
And we have to understand that those types of mistakes, those frustrations, they're going to come. They're inevitable. They will happen no matter how much you prepare. They will happen. Hopefully a lot less once you get into the rhythm and you do your due diligence. But even in your best of days, something will go wrong.
Right.
What defines your best day is how you respond to that. Do you let it actually take over your whole day, your whole podcast experience? Or do you take that small L, that one punch, soak it in and see what you could have done to avoid it and what you can do now that you've gotten punched?
Yes, like the lesson from it. So that's even, I think Jay Shetty just posted something on Instagram that said along the lines of when you want to get into a long-term relationship, just be prepared for the tears, the argument, and the boring days, not just excited and looking forward to all the happy days. And I think that's so true and relatable to this circumstance too, because when we went into podcasting, that in itself is a relationship because it's how we are in relation to this podcast.
Exactly.
There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times where we're trying to figure things out that is not in our skill set yet, but that doesn't mean we're not actively experiencing enough to learn it and grow from it.
Exactly.
Like this whole thing is a process. It's not just us pressing a button and speaking and then uploading it.
Yeah.
Period. There's so many other layers behind it, and if you can look at it from a humbling experience and know like, hey, I know for sure I don't know everything about podcasting, but I have the drive, the determination, the passion, and the will to learn it and be gentle with myself while I'm learning it, then I will eventually be able to be on top.
Right.
Because of how much time and passion and energy and research that I'm doing for my craft. So for us, it's podcasting, but for other people, apply the exact same mentality to whatever your craft is, whether it's cooking, whether it's teaching, whether it's your cars or your shoes or the relationships with your family or your actual intimate relationships or anything like that. But it's applicable. You just have to find the actual root of the lesson to apply it to your life.
Right, exactly. Beautiful. Having said that, there's so many layers. There's so many pieces and gears all functioning pretty much at the same time. But before you could, get in the whole flow from start to finish, you're going to have to learn it. You're going to have to at least learn it at a basic level so you can, for example, our podcast, put it out. Like you're going to have to understand, okay, recording devices. I have my voice, but how do I get the voice to the other person on the cell phone?
Mm-hmm.
I first have to get an audio recorder or, be that a mic, be that, my own phone,
right.
be that, whatever, an audio interface or an audio recorder, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get it on that, how do I get it onto my computer so I can upload it?
Right.
Where do I upload it to? What do I have to do to upload it? Do I do it myself or do I do it through some software?
Mm-hmm.
And then once they do, how do I make sure people listen to it? And even before that, how do I make sure the sound's good?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make sure my audio isn't clipped? How do I make sure I save it and have the highest possible quality so I don't lose any bit of that precious quality? And in those moments of learning all those little aspects, and there's a lot more to it, you're going to get frustrated. There are some complicated, like editing it, chopping it up so you don't sound broken up or you don't sound like you don't know what you're talking about because there's too big of gaps in between your words. There's going to be a lot of frustrating moments where you're saying to yourself, and I don't get this. What do you mean gain levels? What do you mean decibel levels? What do you mean peaking? What is that? And it's like, what do you mean? What's the distance from the mic to my mouth? Like, what is the proper distance? All these things. I get frustrated. I can't understand that. I hate reading stuff and like learning that way. That's part of it. You're going to have to go through that. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to stumble and think about what you're actually doing. But you have to understand that this is part of it. I have to give myself some grace and I have to allow myself this moment. I'll leave it here. I'll come back to it in a few hours or the next day. But I'll let it seep in my mind and I'll let it linger there. That way, when I come back to it, to that complex information, it's at least familiar to me.
By that point.
By that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have a better time trying to learn it because I already spent a couple hours trying to learn this. There's a clip that I want to play that I want to share with you guys where he explains this so well. I forget what his name is, but he's the Jerry Seinfeld. He's his best friend on the show. And George, yeah.
George Costanza.
George Costanza. I don't know what his
the actor's name
is, but
that's the character.
He put it so well, and I'll play it for you guys right now.
The part that I want to say as an answer to you is, as you begin to find your way of working and you bump into something, you go, I can't make this work. Be gentle with yourself. Larry, I keep quoting Larry Moss because I studied with him for 14 years, and he's quite brilliant. You don't yell at a bud because it isn't a flower yet. It's going to be a flower, but it opens when it's time for it to open. If you're working on something that is beyond your ability at the moment, it doesn't mean it will be beyond your ability in a month, but at the moment, it's going to frustrate the hell out of you. Acknowledge it and go, I'm not getting this. I'm not achieving what I want to achieve right now. Tomorrow. I'll make another choice tomorrow. I'll look at one of these elements another way. Or I need to go out and observe something that is this in life and see if I can learn something from that.
Yes, I love how he said that. Like, I need to go out and learn something that's actually like applying whatever the lesson is and then bringing it to whatever it was frustrating. And it'll show itself.
Yeah.
Just give it time. And a lot of people don't allow themselves to like have that time to let the lesson meet them where they are.
Exactly.
Because it could be so many different reasons, whether you're just constantly on your phone, you're too busy, you're too into your feelings, or you're just so closed off that you're not allowing these lessons you're not allowing yourself to receive the lessons and see them in action. What's it called? I really like how I get to work with teens, but then I also get to work with the staff. And in both areas, whether I'm guiding the teens or the team, both times, regardless of who I'm guiding, I end up turning it back on myself. And it becomes a mirror of like, okay, whatever I am externally feeling or portraying or anything like that is a reflection, whether it's an exact reflection of how I'm feeling internally or a reflection of the opposite of how I'm feeling. So, perfect example is when I get become like a very tight grip on, how do I say this? Like I become a perfectionist to the point where I am micromanaging at that point. And that's no fun for anyone involved.
Right, yeah.
And even I don't like having a micromanager. So why would I be a micromanager to my team? And then in that same perspective, when I saw a staff member like have such a hard time with managing the teens, I was like, let's take a step back. Remember, they're teens. So even though, quote unquote, they should know this is the time that they get to make the mistakes. But we have to teach it in a way that allows them to know that it's okay to make mistakes here. But let's try to correct it the next time so that it doesn't happen again.
Right.
Because the consequence of them continuing to make the mistake when they're an adult is far worse than what it is right now.
100%.
And so scaling it back and allowing that staff member to like back up and say like, oh, okay, let me teach this in a way that they can grasp it because I'm teaching it out of love. And that is the best response that you're going to get from the student or the teenager because they understand, okay, I messed up. I'm allowed to make a mistake. But now that I know I made the mistake, I'm going to think twice about doing that again.
Yeah.
And that ties so well with this next component of like the reflection piece, because when you're closed off, okay, not even you. Like when I am closed off, I can tell when I am no longer looking at someone out of love
Right.
or dealing with them out of love.
Yeah.
Because I'm both, I have this like, I love my grandma. I get my feistiness out of her, from her,
Yeah.
and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But I'm also, they go hand in hand because I have this feisty side, because of how much I know she was such like a caregiver to so many people. I am that next generation of bettering the nurturing side, in the sense of let me put myself on the list of taking care of myself so that my feistiness and frustrations don't come spill out to other people that I'm taking care of. I cannot blame anyone that I am in charge of taking care of for my frustration. That just means, okay, this was a hard week, so let me fill my cup up again and make sure that I am only giving from my overflow of energy. Because if I'm giving everyone my last and I don't have anything for myself, obviously my feistiness is going to show, and then I really won't be able to see someone make a mistake and correct them out of love.
Right.
Because I don't have that love to give.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's exactly the point. You have to analyze and see what's going on. What is making me frustrated? Instead of just throwing in the towel because you're feeling like that.
Right.
You're not going to feel happy all the time.
Right.
You're not going to feel like, yeah, even though Iana is doing this, I promise you, she's not just doing this for the money. I promise you that she is doing this because she knows that this is on her way to her purpose. And so, even though she knows that, and that's the biggest why for her doing all of this, she has to understand that, okay, yes, even though I'm doing this for the good of humanity, pretty much, I'm not going to feel good doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be moments where I'm mad, I'm pissed off. There are going to be moments where I'm almost ready to throw in the towel. Like, I can't believe this is happening to me. It's part of it. It's part of it. You're not going to feel this overwhelming sense of like, yes, I'm in it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Bruh, I promise you, it did not feel like that for me when I was editing the podcast for last week, and all I heard were a bunch of muffles because something got messed up. I promise you, I felt like, man, what the heck am I going to do? Man, something, of course, something would have happened. Of course, I didn't do this before, so I could at least have time with Yana to redo it. It is what it is. You have to acknowledge that mistakes are going to happen. No matter how skilled you are, no matter how much you prepare, something is going to go wrong. And when something like that does, you have to be ready to say, okay, something happened. I am not going to stop here. I'm not going to give up here. Because if I do, I'll really just be like every other person.
Right.
They stop at the first obstacle. They stop at the first point of sadness, of weakness. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm going to pick myself up, even though I'm stressed and I'm frustrated because this should have been done already, and the audio's gone. I will still show up. I will still show up. I will learn from that. And right now, even in this moment of frustration, I'll take a step back. I'll go out. I'll live a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll see that that frustration isn't this big thing that is consuming my life. It's part of my life, but it doesn't take up the whole world. So let me step out, take a breather, come back, and then see that obstacle, that complex problem with fresh eyes, a new motor, and a full tank of gas. And I promise you, I'm going to get through that problem. I promise you, I'm going to get through that obstacle. You might have me defeated right now in this moment. You might have me out of my depths with this complex information. But I promise you, you let me sit on that, let me go out and then come back. And I promise you, with my newfound energy, I will tackle that problem. I will overcome that obstacle and I will get to the other side. But I'll tell you something for a fact. If you let that frustration consume you, what do you think is going to happen? A few years are going to go by and nothing's going to change. Whereas if you just said to yourself, man, even if it takes me 3 months to learn this thing, even if it takes me 3 months to understand these people, even if it takes me 3 months to really grasp what's going on here, if I just keep here, in 2 years, I will be laughing at how this used to frustrate me. I will be smiling because this used to keep me up at night. And now it just takes me a matter of seconds to get over it. Man, I'm telling you, me with Iana, sometimes we laugh at each other because, we get in an argument about anything. And it could be so minor.
So minor.
So minor. And we get into an argument. We're in the car. We went to a store, something happened, and then we come back inside, and we're mad at each other. We don't talk for a few minutes. She's on her phone. I'm just focused on driving. And 2 years ago, that would consume our whole day. We would carry that in our hearts. It'd take us a day or two to finally start talking about it and to finally get over it.
Right.
Bruh. Now, when stuff like that happens, it's the same process, but it takes minutes. I kid you not, bruh. It takes minutes.
Yes.
Because one of us just understands, like, yo, okay, I messed up or the other person messed up. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
As much as we want to be lovey-dovey, as much as we want to be laughing, as much as we just want to be carefree, at peace, and just loving life, these moments are going to happen.
Exactly.
They're always going to happen.
Tell them about the time. It was the same thing. On Friday night, I got off work. I worked like 13 hours that day. And when I got in the car, we were heading to Taco Bell. And you had to break the news of the podcast.
Yeah.
And we got in the car. We were driving for like not even 2 minutes. And he was like, all right, Iana, I have to tell you something. And he told me what happened with the podcast and how he took accountability. And this is the thing that I really want to highlight about Adonis. He took accountability for the situation and then he ran with it. He learned what was going on. He figured out what happened. And then instead of presenting me with the problem, he already had the solution. He already did a separate video. He already planned for it to be scheduled, to be released.
Yeah.
And all he had to tell me was like, hey, this is the situation. This was the solution that I came up with. This is what we're doing. And I already looked into a new mixer for us. And I was like, oh, okay, dope. Like, like you should not be like worried at all. And like he was worried about me receiving the news.
Right.
Like, I don't even know how many hours he was worried about telling me the news. And I was just like my reaction to it was like, oh, bet, like, we're fine. It's okay. And like, I know for a fact, and so does Adonis, like all things work together.
Yeah.
This is so funny, like manifest. All things work together for the good.
Yeah.
And it just opened, as soon as he told me the situation, my brain was already like, oh my gosh, more doors are opening right now.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh shoot, what are we going to do? Da, 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 blah, 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 like go into like this chaotic state especially after working for so long, like I'm so grateful that he took the time to not tell me while I was at work. He told me after already.
Exactly.
And like the time and the place is everything, especially when you know who you're talking to.
Right.
We're going on 3 years, guys.
Yeah.
And just like Adonis said, what would have taken like a whole weekend of getting over one small hiccup or whatever, like issue or whatever, it was resolved in minutes.
Right.
And I love how he demonstrated and modeled that same type of problem solving and like delivery and everything. So now when I'm in a pickle or whatever, whether it's for work or like a personal situation or something like that, I'm not going to run to him because I'm so frustrated and I don't know what to do. Yes, I know I can come to him, but if I can figure it out on my own before, let me do that. But the difference is taking the time to try and figure it out before you go and present it to somebody who cares and will support you through whatever.
Right.
So that's just like another layer for you guys, the listeners, to better understand like, okay, when I am going through this frustrating situation, because I know it's going to happen, how much energy am I going to give this situation permission to take from me at this time?
Exactly.
Like, do I want it to take the whole day and then hold it for the rest of the day and the rest of the weekend when you only have 2 days for a weekend? Or do you want to cool off and literally watch what you say and then allow yourself to open up and say like, hey, I don't want to see you out of this angry heart, out of this closed heart. I know I love you. I know what could have been prevented would have been prevented or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we're not perfect. And the best advice that I can give you too, as the listener, is when you give yourself that grace of, yes, I should have known, but I didn't know, and now I know.
Yeah.
When you give yourself that grace, it's easier when you have to give someone else that grace.
Exactly.
So practice it on yourself first. Learn to be gentle with yourself first.
Yeah.
Learn to be the bud before you can grow into the flower. When it is time for you to be the flower.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Man, the reason it used to take us weekends and not minutes like it does now is because when that frustration hits, what are you focused on? Focused on the problem.
Yeah.
You're focused on how does that make me feel? Bruh, I'm telling you, because it would take the weekend for us to get over an argument over that frustration, because we would be focused on, man, there's that one thing I don't like about them. Man, this is going to be the end of us. Man, I can't believe this. Why would she? Why would he?
Is it time to go on a break? Like, is he really like the person?
And it's like, bro, what are you doing?
Is she really the person?
And now it's like, okay, what did I mess up on? Well, okay, what needs to be corrected?
Yes.
What honestly could I have done better to have prevented this?
Right. And that's both of us at the same time reflecting at the same situation. Like, okay, I could have communicated better on what I needed.
Yeah.
He could have done his part. I don't know what your part was.
And even if it's easier for you, because this is how it is for a lot of people. It's easier to correct someone else than it is to correct you. So guess what? If that's your way of thinking right now, whatever, let that be your way of thinking. So long as it's to provide a solution.
Yeah.
So for example, if me and Iana got into it, and the only thing I could think of is what she could have done better. Okay, well, in a polite manner, say, hey, Iana, you could have said this a little nicer.
Exactly.
Instead of just saying, I can't believe you talk to me like that. Who do you think you are?
Right.
What, do you think I'm this? What do you think I'm that? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, bruh.
What, do you think I'm a child?
And
like,
then you're adding fuel to the fire.
Exactly.
When all you need to do is grab a blanket on that sucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, bro, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
You're literally making this into such a big deal
Mhm.
when it could be resolved in a matter of minutes. You know why she said that podcast hiccup was just that, a small
Mhm.
hiccup?
Mhm.
Is because we came up with a solution extremely fast.
Exactly.
Instead of saying like, man,
what are we gonna do? How are we gonna
it's
do
over.
this?
We didn't post this weekend, this
Mhm.
past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So are we gonna like stop for a couple and say it was just the end of the season? I mean, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's a small hiccup because we immediately focused on the solution.
Yes.
And we immediately did just that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just getting hung up on, man, Yana, maybe we're not for this. We're not built for this.
Right.
Is this really our purpose? I mean, come on.
And exactly with what Adonis just said, if you're listening to this podcast, please repeat this section that I'm about to say. Watch your mouth. When you are in that frustrating situation, watch the words that you are telling yourself or watch the words that is coming out of your mouth to whoever you are talking to, because that will determine if, one, you even want to listen to yourself, and two, if anyone that you're working with wants to continue to work with you.
Exactly.
That literally is the make it or break it part of like, oh, I can continue to stay in this relationship with whoever it is.
Yeah.
Or no, I deserve better than this. So if I'm not going to let you talk to me like that, then I better not be talking to myself like that.
Exactly.
And knowing it goes back all the way to like episode 2, know your worth. Like, know that if you won't allow anyone else to talk to you like that, why are you going to be the first one to talk to yourself about that? Especially in that frustrating situation.
Yeah.
Hey, you messed up. It's all good. That means you're in the learning process, which also means, hey, you tried something today. Now continue to execute until you actually get it done. Why would you stop in the middle of trying? Like, get it done.
Get it done.
Whatever it needs to be. But learn how to communicate to yourself of like, dang, I messed up. Okay, so what is it? Like, other examples could be, I'm so frustrated right now, but instead of claiming the frustration or I'm afraid right now, turn it into excitement. Okay, I'm a little uneasy about this situation. I might have some anxiety or something like that, but guess what? I'm going to smile, even if it's a fake smile for 5 seconds, and be like do some hops or whatever, and get yourself in that excited, positive mode where it's no longer fake. And you're like, okay, this is exciting. I have no idea what's to come. I have no idea who's walking through that door, but guess what? I'm going to take control and accountability for my actions and say like, greet whoever it is that you have to deal with or whatever situation it is with positive energy and give them the love that you already gave yourself.
Exactly. Watch your mouth, player.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the things that I love doing, and I don't know what it is, but I've always been like this in terms of the way I talk to myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I came into a situation like a work environment or a team environment where I know people were going to be trying to dog me out, or it was just like that type of environment,
right?
Then instead of being like, man, I don't want to go there, like people mistreating me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to come in hot and you're going to hate me even more because I'm coming in this hot. You're not about to handle this heat, player.
Right.
Like, better step up your game to full blast if you think you're going to say an ounce of negativity towards me. Because you're not going to be able to keep up. So don't even open your mouth to talk negative about me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be embarrassed to talk about me in the way you want to talk about me. Because my level is going to be so far up that you're going to have to...
You can't ignore it.
Yeah, you're going to have to go 200% of what you normally do to even think about talking bad about me, bruh.
Yeah.
But and the only reason I'm saying that is because it's like what Iana said. Watch your mouth. And if it's tainted with words that inflict wounds on yourself, then wash your mouth.
Yes.
Get a bar of dish bounty soap. Put that on your tongue, sucker.
So funny. But even the exact same example that you just gave is also the same thing that I said earlier too about like the reflection component.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I would take a negative situation like that and either be down in the dumps because people are just keep dogging me and I don't know how to like defend myself or whatever, or the opposite and I'm ready to fight with them, is because the energy matches, whether it's opposite or the exact same. The energy is still the same energy, regardless of if it's a perfect reflection or if it's the opposite reflection. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So like when you're resistant to whatever energy it is, that is, oh, I can go toe to toe with this, or, oh, I can win this. So like, which one do you want to think of? And then if you want to take yourself out of the game, out of the fight, out of the match, that's, don't even pay mind to it. Don't even feed the fire of it. Don't even allow that energy to intercept into your energy, because the exchange of energy is where it really is highlighted.
Yeah.
And when you're ready to go toe to toe with someone, obviously that is someone that like, okay, because you resisted my blows and whatever, I'm going to keep going until I get the reaction that I know you've given me before.
Exactly.
But when you have true growth, that's when the same type of people that are trying to get that same reflection that's in them out of you, you no longer feed into their energy. That's when you take accountability for yourself and control you. That's when you take accountability for the words that you are saying and the actions that you are portraying, and you're no longer in the same match with them. Just be like, go fight with yourself. Right. I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
So that's just a tip.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. That's going to do it for the topic of the day. Whoop, whoop. Just to let you guys know, the client work that I was doing,
Woo!
finally finished.
Ah, yeah.
Set in stone, delivered, signed, sealed, delivered. And so what that means is, if I don't get any more client work for that photography business in the near future, I'm going to go in on the podcast, meaning that the Instagram for Too Deep, which is TOODEEPOD, PPOD, it should be popping a little bit more. I'm not going to, like I said, I don't see myself as a photographer for the rest of my life. Now I will be doing it as a hobby, right? In terms of
with our travels.
Oh yeah, but in terms of business wise, I'll be doing it here and there, so I won't be pushing that out as much as I do all my other type of work, which is with my voice, right? Because that's what I believe where my purpose lies. So be expected to see the Instagram a little more lively.
Woo.
So it'd be a big favor to us if you follow that.
Yes, please.
And then share those clips, share the podcast with anyone that you know would enjoy this type of content. Mm-hmm. That'll do it for us today. But before we go, are there any parting words from you, Iana Giseo?
I think my parting words are going to have to be love on yourself, in the sense of it's not vain or anything like that. It's literally pour the love that you wish to receive into yourself so that you can not only give it away to other people, but also attract that same type of love that you wish to receive. So, for example, for me, I love cooking, and I know that that's time for me to like play in the kitchen, but then I'm also able to share the food that I make with the people that I love. So I'm going to take the time to love on myself by making the good food and then sharing it with the people that I love. I don't know. The way to a woman's heart is food. So that's just a tip for you guys. So yeah, I think I'm going to part with that.
Nice.
What about you, Adonis?
Give yourself that grace. Know that there are seasons for everything. You know, there's moments to be happy. There are moments to be at peace. There are moments to be frustrated. There are moments to be angry, depressed, sad. excited, anxious.
Yes.
Understand that these are the emotions that we have as a human being. That if we didn't experience them, then something's off.
Yeah.
But knowing that when you do go through the emotions you particularly aren't fond of, understand that it's okay. Understand that it's part of being a human. Understand that that doesn't make you any less of a person. It doesn't make you not good, not great. It doesn't make you bad.
Right.
All that means is I might have to spend a little more time on this topic.
Yeah.
I'd have to spend a little more time understanding this concept. And if I apply myself, if I give myself that grace, if I leave and then come back with fresh eyes,
exactly,
a full tank, then I will be able to conquer this. But I won't ever be able to conquer this if I allow that frustration to stop me and steer me away from that path. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you guys.
We love you.
Stay safe, everybody.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.